can see it on your phone screen. So I'm going to record it and I'll put it in the members area so you can back in and go back in and like switch it to portrait or something like that so you can see it easier. This is from an ebook I wrote, and it's just a kind of I call it an infographic that comes from it, and it kind of addresses a bit of that. So I thought, as you can see the title, that your wound is the gateway to growth. So we're going to talk about, sorry, my switcher is not working, otherwise it'd be a lot more smooth. PTSD is like unresolved trauma, right? And trauma has, just we'll kind of do some nutshell stuff here. Trauma has a beginning, a middle, and an end, just like a wound. A wound, we receive the wound, and then there's that healing process in the wound, and then the wound is healed, right? But the thing of it is, if we don't support the healing, right, then that wound just kind of stays there. Or if there's so many wounds, think of it, I'll just use purely physical now, if our immune system, those healing systems, just don't have enough sort of strength in them to heal the wound, then they just start to pile up and pile up and pile up and pile up. And to me, I think that's where the PTSD kind of comes from. You talk about the fear of recurring panic attacks, is because there's just so much of this built up that it's like just a pressure cooker, and anything is going to pop it, and away it goes again, and away it goes again, and away it goes again. So I'm just going to go through this graphic because it kind of addresses that. And I had it up because I wanted to talk about it, so this may be a good segue into it. So you can see the little leaves here, and I talk about the wound. So let's say the wound is the trauma, right? And so our job right here, oops, hold on. No, that's not what I want. Sorry, guys. Every once in a while, I have to reset this. We're just going to do that there. So our job here, as it says, is to create a nurturing environment. Now, here's important: to not chase healing, but simply support the process by nurturing yourself. And I think that's that whole thing, is these traumas, these wounds, your body, if you use a purely physical example now, it knows how to heal them. And it will heal them unless there's something that sort of interrupts that process, right? And I really like I see Zeeling, maybe you talked about the shadow self. And I really like this. It talks about making peace with the wound. We don't agree with it, or we don't argue against it. We simply be with it. So creating that environment that is supporting the wound healing, right? And the biggest thing understanding with this is, again, we don't have to make the trauma resolve. We don't have to make the wound heal. We maintain that environment that supports that natural process. And I really like, I'm just going to bounce this up a bit here. I really like this here, where it talks about healing is a marathon, not a sprint. And the text here says, choose a gentle, sustainable pace, testing the wound, but not taxing it. And in the text, I talk about how, so if you've sprained a muscle, or a sprain, so a joint or something, is as it heals, you're gonna test it a little bit, right? Because with the sprain, the more you use it, the quicker it heals, right? So I'll get to the. I know you guys are making comments, and that's perfect. And I'll hop over to it as soon as I've done this here, okay, and address them. But you guys are doing great. So you just carry on with the conversations. So that's wonderful. But just allowing it to heal itself, and then kind of testing it a little bit, right? Geez, I don't have my switcher. It just throws me right off. Okay. So then we're going to scroll down. This should work. There we go. Okay. So this I really like. So what hinders the healing process? Identifying with the wound, fighting or attacking the wound, or chasing a cure in a frantic sprint. And it kind of fits in what we've talked about in the first piece here, right? Identifying with the wound, understanding, and I think this so kind of address the PTSD thing, is these traumas, while they are, if you will, a wound, your trauma, you are not the trauma. So the trauma is yours, but you are not the trauma. And I find it's so easy for all of us to start to identify with the trauma, right? Now, another thing is it says fighting or attacking the wound. Again, I think it was Z-Link you mentioned about sort of making peace with your shadow self, right? And not treating it like the enemy. It might not be pretty. It maybe probably shouldn't have happened, all that kind of stuff. But remember, it's not, think of it as a wound. So you're not going to go, bad wound, bad wound. Or you're not going to do that, right? Or again, chasing the cure in this frantic sprint. Like it's got to, like I have to get rid of this stuff right now. Right? It knows our job is to create an environment for that natural releasing process to do what it knows how to do. I think that's important to remember is we don't make the healing happen. We allow it to happen. Right? Okay. And I probably addressed that over. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Now we're down to here. So, what supports the healing? I really like this. Seeing it as temporary, nurturing and making peace with it. We talked about that. And trusting the natural marathon like process. Seeing it as temporary. And this can be a lot bigger challenge than we realize. I know it was for myself because it's so easy when we have these wounds, when we have these traumas, when we have however you want to articulate it, that we start to identify with it and it starts to feel permanent. And it's almost like we forget who we were when we didn't have it, right? And to understand that it is dying, no matter how intense it is still designed to be temporary. It has a beginning, it has a middle, it has an end, right? And then if we just kind of go down here, it's a bit of a summary. As I said, a wound is an event. I love this. A wound is an event, not your identity. It is a temporary state, like a physical injury, and not who you are. And here, as I said, we mistakenly choose to become a wound. And the subtext is this creates a vicious cycle where our external world validates our broken identity. And here's what tends to happen, especially when we start to identify with it. Needs to be busy. Could you tell me more about what the Slack community entails? Oh, that's for sure. Then Spiritual Cal has got that. So we create this vicious cycle where our external world starts to validate our, if you will, broken identity, right? When we identify with the wound, we start to radiate that energy, and then we start to have that reflected back to us. And again, as it says, we start that vicious cycle over and over and over and over and over again, right? Your wound, I love this. Your wound is the raw material for growth. It's transformational. It's a transformational doorway to a more expanded version of yourself. And I really love this infographic. It's so nice because they're all in one page, easy to see. Diamond in the rough. Isn't that the truth? There you go. So